I'm going to share my screen. All of our circles come out of the Sacred Ground Collective. And even my classes come from that same model, even though it comes out of my own work. So in the Sacred Ground Collective, and this is our website, we go down here and here's what makes our community unique. But what I wanted to focus on today, just to bring them into our awareness, is our agreements. And the reason I wanted to bring them into our circles for the next week, maybe two, is to remind us, is because I was invited into another group, not ours at all, who also have agreements. And part of that agreement is what shared in circle stays in circle. And that makes it so we can have a place where we can say what we need to say, be held, and not know that that's not going to be shared. And unfortunately, in that group, some information got shared outside the circle. And I'm going like, I want to cut that in the bud, because it's not happening in our circles that I'm aware of at all. So it's not like we need to be more aware. I just wanted to keep reaffirming because it's so important. So here's our agreements. We gather in the sacred space of sovereignty. One person speaks at a time. We encourage different points of view. We listen from our heart. We share from our personal experience. We listen with discernment rather than judgment. We are self-responsible and apply good mind. In other words, we're in charge of monitoring and bringing our energy back to wholeness and balance. We are each the leader in our life. We offer experience, not advice, and that only when requested. We pause and ask for guidance before speaking. We speak only from our experiences and beliefs and do not speak for others. And what is spoken in our circle is held sacred and stays in the circle and the sovereignty of each circle. So I just want to reaffirm that and thank all of you for being here. And I know that's what's been done for the last 2, maybe 3 years that we've had the collective. So just to reaffirm that. Thank you. Cinda, turning it over to you.
Great. I would just like to put out a quick apology for last week for totally spacing. This COVID brain fog is real. It is crazy and strange. And so I apologize, and I'm so grateful to Sharon that I have today to make up for it. So let's check in and go around like we usually do. And if people would like to, I love when we put in a theme that we're thinking on or working on. And I also love when we bring in names of people or situations that we want to offer energetic support for. So I'm Cinda, and I'm in Westland, Oregon, which is just south of Portland. And today I'd like to bring in rest, I think. Rest. And a restfulness. How about that? Restfulness. And I'd like to bring in two people. And I'll talk to you, Sue. I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Cinda. Oh, it's good to see you. Look full of energy. You look like you're back to yourself. That looks great. So I'm Sue. I'm in Issaquah, Washington. I'm going to bring in 17 people. One situation. I'm bringing in calm. I am dealing with all kinds of things around taxes, moving, injuries from the auto accident. My rental car is going to run out. They just decided my car is totaled. And if I think about it all at once, I just emotionally freak out. So then I take a Deep breathing, breathe, 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 very, very calmly, slowly, deeply, get it back together and think of one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Then I get everything done I need to get done, except I don't know who all my new support people are because it all changed when my car was decided to be totaled. But 2 times they have said, your car got hit so hard. So trauma hit this morning. Oh my gosh, the trauma of the accident didn't hit. And it all hit this morning. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall apart. But I had too much to do. So I'm glad I'm here. I feel I'm in a circle of support by women I trust and believe in. And it just feels so good because I just am trying to deal with a lot of things. And this week, I go to Edmonds for 5 weeks. I'm cat sitting, condo sitting, and they think I need surgery on my shoulder. I don't know how this is all going to work out. So, one day at a time. Thank you. I am complete. Angelique?
Yes, I hear you, Sue, really. Thank you. Really. And also what you say about being in this beautiful circle of support of loving sisters and really connected, and which surprises me and which moves me every time again is that you are all so far apart and we are so close because we are spread over the whole world. And you know, over the past month that I've been in this really deep hole, dark hole, I felt your support so deeply and so much, and it was so comforting, and still it is. And you are true sisters, really. Well, that's what I love to share first. And then, yeah, of course, I am on the other side of the planet. And it was a beautiful day today. I had a beautiful grandmother circle too. And we were just, the others were ill. And one of my sisters got a heart attack a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden. And yesterday she fainted and she got 2, 3, you call it stents? Do you also call it stents in English? And that was amazing, you know, like, wow. And she was in circle today, of course, in spirit, not physically. And well, so we ended up being the 2 of us only, but it was such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gathering, you know, and keeping me remember all the time that it's not about us, but it's about what we send out to the spirit world and where we work with. And to be grateful for all this guidance and support from the angels and the spirit keepers and everyone and our guardians. And I mean, we had such a beautiful circle of golden light, although we were just the 2 of us, but it has never been so crowded in my sacred space. And it was beautiful. And what I thought about, I started for a couple of days now, nights and days, I started with Nidra yoga. I don't know if anyone knows that, to get into sleep and to start the day. And it's so great. It's so supportive. And yeah, you know, I love journeying anyway. So I love journeying through my body as well. And it's, yeah, it really keeps me in a different space. It really sets me in a different space. And there has changed something. I can't say what has changed, but I feel lighter and I feel more tranquil, more with me, more being with myself and with the whole, you know, not being so so separated. I'm in a different place, but I'm in and I feel good. So thank you so much. I put in inner peace and quiet, and 10 people and 1 situation. And I go to Linda.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So I'm Linda, and I'm in San Diego, which is experiencing a short-lived heat wave in the 80s for the last 2 days, and we're going to have today is also in the 80s, and then we're going to go to 69. So it's all, all changing. So let's see. I woke up the last 2 mornings, and this time of year has always been a time where I notice the bird song. And the joyful bird song has an amazing vibration. So that's what I want to bring into the circle, is this incredible, joyful. They're calling mates, they're doing, it's kind of earlier than spring, but it is the time that they choose their mates. And I'm just listening to this beauty and just going, wow, we are so fortunate to have all these creatures in our web of life, So let's see, I am bringing 3 people into the circle and 1 situation. And we'll go with Sharon.
Okay, thanks. Here on Whidbey Island, it's been a really, really, really difficult couple of weeks. And I kind of, have an idea of, Bella asked what it's all about. So I know what's going on. Doesn't make it easier, but it certainly, I'm grateful to have enough experience and support beyond myself to walk. So what I want to bring into the circle today, I think it's been said in a lot of different ways, but that sense of lightening. It's kind of like a release, but it doesn't feel like a release as much as just a lightening. Feels more like stable up. So I want to bring that into the circle, and 42 individuals and 4 situations. And I did everything that's been said about my gratitude for having a circle that I can be involved with so many times during the week. So thank you.
All right, I had to do my math. I have to count on my fingers. So my brain is moving really slow these days. How beautiful. All right, so we have 7 situations, 74 people to bring into the sacred circle to help heal. And we're bringing in the gorgeous energy of restfulness, calm, inner peace, quiet, joyful bird song, and the vibration that goes with that, and a lightning. And so why don't we quickly set space, and then I will, and when we're setting space, bring in these 7 situations and these 74 people and the energy of all these descriptive words that we've brought in. So as we check in, bring the energy of all of those people, situations, and words in. And then I want to talk about what we're going to do, and then we'll go into our traveling meditation. So if we could just close our eyes for a moment and visualize this circle of the 5 of us being unique and together, knowing that we are safe, calling in our guides, our invisible teams to be with us, to support us. And to know that we are right where we are needed to be to do the work that we are needed to do. And we are so grateful for this opportunity to work together. And so it is. So, okay, I want to talk a little bit. Sue and Angelique, you don't necessarily need to have your videos off yet, but you can if you want, obviously. So quite a few, maybe a year ago, I had experienced a series of events that led me to do meditation to figure out why these events had happened. And I was shown a grid of grief that is surrounding the planet. And we all kind of might be familiar with this grid that surrounds the planet, which is beautiful and kind of holding us sacred. But this one was held close to the surface. And at first I thought it was beautiful, and I would tap into it and be aware of it. And I could see that it was an equalizing force in the world, that with all of the division and all the polar opposites and all the political trauma and et cetera, grief was the one thing that unified all of us. Because grief is grief is grief, no matter what causes the grief, no matter if it is grief from the death of a loved one, the loss of a loved one, or if it is grief over just our lives being turned over because of COVID, or even grief because our political party isn't in power, or our political party, or just through beliefs. It doesn't matter. Grief is grief is grief. And that connects us into this grid. Well, what I've been shown recently when I tap into this grid of grief is that a large percentage of this population is grieving so heavily, but grief is a scary emotion to deal with. And so a lot of us have a tendency to take our sadness and turn it into anger or rage. And so a lot of the anger and rage and that we're witnessing right now, I have a feeling that it really might be a cause for grief, that people don't know what they're supposed to do with it or how to heal it. And the reason why they don't know and why they're so confused and why they're lashing out is when I looked a little closer, I saw that this grid was actually solidifying. It was actually, with the more grief that wasn't getting healed, the stronger this grid became. It was like calcified, and then turning basically into a cage and trapping people. And so what does a cage animal do but lash out? Because they are afraid, they feel helpless, they are caged, they are violent, and and they're frightened. So I thought today what we would do, because originally this 2 o'clock on Monday afternoons was designed a kind of a combination of the old time traveling we used to do, a combination of the crystal broadcasters we used to do, and of the, Sharon, I don't remember the third one. What was the third one? It was 3, the time travel.
Guardian circle.
I'm sorry, what?
Guardian circle.
Oh, and the guardian circles, right. So I really feel like we, the 5, especially that are here consistently, are truly empowered by this guardianship that we have been given. I also believe that we, are not afraid to heal when we are emotionally going through turmoil. We're not afraid to heal the grief that is within us, or we seek out ways to heal it if we're feeling stuck. And I think, Angelique, you brought in beautiful examples in your own life, how you have dealt with your own grief and healed and worked through it. And Sue as well. Well, all of us have, actually. I mean, I can think of specific stories, but we all have. And so what I'm thinking I would like to do today is I would like to start us kind of like we used to do the time travel meditations, but I would like for us, I'll start with a visualization, but then my hope is that you will ask your team to guide you to see for yourselves what is entrapping the majority of the population. What is it? I'm being shown a grid of grief, but perhaps you could be or will be shown something different. The question that'll guide us into asking our teams is to take us and show us where is the entrapment. Now we know the protocol how to get rid of that entrapment because of what Sharon has taught us with the outsider energy. But first, I think we need to visualize or be shown what is entrapping us. Why are people lashing out like they are caged animals? Why? And so there's a variety of different ways that we can do this. I know for myself, if I want to immediately see that grid of grief, I experience grief myself. The second I experience a personal grief up my head and out, and I am attached to the grid of grief, and I can see it by traveling it, by being one with it through my own grief. Or I can kind of go off to where the grid of grief is attached, and I feel into a higher frequency vibration, gratitude, divine love, forgiveness, grace. And I can actually travel through the grid into the cosmos and look down and see it. And then from there, I can try to heal it. So I'm not quite sure in my meditation which route I will go, but my hope, if you feel that there is, by your own experience, by your own observation, an entrapment. I mean, Sue, you said something in your dream that you had the other night, or you woke up really early and you experienced a form of entrapment that you felt you had to heal people from. And because you experienced that, and I woke up the same time you did, and I was experiencing this grid of grief yet again and started to work on it. And there's something to this is what I'm getting at. And if 5 of us can come together today, and those who are watching on the video later, and we can work together in whatever our guides show us to help dissolve, eliminate, remove this entrapment so it becomes permeable, so people can finally breathe, so they can heal from their grief instead of being trapped by it. Does that sound okay? Are people into that? Okay. All right, so feel free if you want to turn your videos off. I'll keep mine on. And then Linda, can you mute yourself just in case anything distracting? Thank you. All right, so let's just take a moment to just relax into the seat in which we are sitting. And as you begin to breathe at a rate which is comfortable, bring in your team. Bring in your invisible team that works with you. And feel their presence. If you know them, welcome them. If they're new to you, maybe introduce yourself, find out who they are, who is showing up for you to help us dissolve and release and get rid of this cage of entrapment, energetic entrapment, which I am experiencing around the globe right now. So as you are in relaxation mode, I want you to ask your team to please guide me. Guide me to and show me where this entrapment is. Is it grief? What does it look like? And guide me to where it is that I can heal it, and then show me how to go about healing. Maybe it is within myself. Maybe it is something outside of me that I can witness. Please, my glorious divine team, show me this grid, show me this energetic entrapment, and guide me in ways to heal it. So take time to travel, view, witness, follow, listen, and then work on relieving the planet of the harm of this entrapment in whichever way it presents itself to you. So we'll do this for 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. A little bit more than 10 minutes has gone by. If people are ready to come back and turn your cameras on. Would anyone like to share? They can start. I'll go last. Whoever wants to go first, and then you can take someone after you're done.
Oh, Linda.
That was interesting. It seemed only like a couple minutes. And I started asking who my team was, and I don't think I had any specific information given, but I felt more like as I asked, I was going to have more, I'd find out more. There were a couple of things that I'm not recalling now that happened in the beginning, but they weren't real close visions. They were more like feelings. I could feel the grief. I talk to people almost every day that are dealing with their lives, but they're dealing with that grief. So at some point, this never happened to me before, just it's sort of something opened up. I can't even tell you if it was a dimension or what. And the whole field became green. And then the green very quickly turned to gold. I mean, to me, that's a vibrational thing because color is that way. I don't know if it was a specific, here's what to do. It was more that seemed like all of us here had entered into a dimension and we are part of the help, you know? So that's what I experienced. And Sharon, do you want to go next? It's okay if you don't.
Fine. So for me, what happened is who showed up was Gaia and Tesla, probably because they've been pretty in my face lately. And the question I ask is, where's the entrapping energy and what can I contribute to the removal of it? So they showed up and it was clear that Gaia she was saying, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when you include me, because I said, you're the one who knows where it's hidden in you. And so that's where I went, was with Gaia, where it's hidden in her. And that's the first, second, third, fourth dimension. She indicates that those are the regions, the more physical and just a little bit into mental, first, second, third, and fourth in that region that she calls my body. And she said, what we're going to do is we're going to create a map, and she calls it our body because it's a collective. Earth is a collective. We're going to create a map of our body to label what has been formed, stored, anchored, kidnapped, so we can be effective in removing the entrapment. And it's in those dimensions that I mentioned. Instead, as it relates to our body, to Earth. And Tesla is on board, going to be working with the team she's putting together, as well as all of the field of intelligences that are very committed to Earth, meaning water, air, fire, earth, crystalline minerals, and all the worlds of those that she said you would call it fairies and elves. Doesn't matter. Different ethnicities have different ways of identifying those beings. They're going to include all of them. And they said, once the map is created, then we'll be ready to create an action plan. And they will create the action plan. And the entire program was going to be put into that weaving of divine good that happened in December, divine good. And that's where they will be working from. They will pull together teams to identify, to cocoon, to plan, and to create the action steps. And she said, check in with us regularly, especially when when I'm in these kind of circles. So to kind of, if they need anything along the way, then that's when they'll say that now we need X. So that's what I did. Thank you. Sue.
Thank you, Sharon. So the information was starting to come right away. So I see the grid of grief, and it's within the same grid of fear that I see. It's just this huge matrix grid all around the planet. It's black, it's brittle, and I can't penetrate it. And so last night, I remember once we went into meditation, the ancients saying on Sunday, I thought I heard them say, we're a resource you're not using, and you need to ask us. So I called in the ancient ones. I can see the grids. I can see the grid is just multiple. And the grid is of fear, and fear creates grief, but it's 100 forms of fear. So I just put it all as fear. And I set my intention to replace all the dark messages that are in this grid, that come into this grid, that go from the grid to humanity. And their evil agendas, their dark messages, it's all about fear, all about anger. And my intention is to put new messages into the quantum field. All information is in the quantum field, and it seems to be saturated with evil messages. I'm going to call it evil messages because it's so destructive. And it's been going on for so long, it's crystallized and become a grid. And then my part was to visualize the quantum field all around planet Earth, from right within planet Earth and out, just way out. And that's all the quantum field. And I am filling it with love and light. And within the love and light are all new messages. And I'm visualizing the love and light is the switch that dissolves the dark. Like turning a switch on in a blackout room. When you turn the light on, the dark just disappears. So every time I have tried to do something on my own, it hasn't worked. But when I set my agenda into the quantum field for a whole new energy, love and light, and I release it to spirit, I'm done. That's my job. I keep being told, that's my job. Stop complicating it. Stop trying to define it, explain it. Stop trying to do our job. If you do our job, we back off. You're playing God. You're on your own. Tough fucking luck to you. And it's like, okay. I'm going to keep working on this because, it gets kind of boring if all you do is send out love and light. So anyway, I have an ego that likes to pretend it's in charge and it can do all these amazing things. And then spirit comes in and says, do you want our help or not? And it's like, oh my God, I do want your help. So there's a quantum field, and I'm setting the agenda for all new messages. That's my job. So Angelique.
Thank you, Sue. Beautiful. It was I had so many images that it was really difficult to get one and to follow that track. So I followed one track, and there are many, many more. And I wrote it down while I was traveling, and it's like I'm spiraling upwards with my team, asking them where we are going to, and I surrender, feeling the importance of the message I earlier received today, which I will share later. They are guiding me, and I feel their loving support surrounded by light and the inner sound, which is the sound of a frequency of the environment where we are traveling to. A guiding sound which connects us, guides us to this plane. I feel we are going through a fog, a misty, cold, and a moisturous fog, and the fog becomes so dense that there is no sight at all. This is a separating feeling because we still travel, and we travel with high speed. So the feeling is dazzling. It dazzles me and reminds me of the great importance not to lose the earthly connection through the umbilical cord. Now we arrive in an open space, and it's a galactic space, and colors surrounds us, blue and green, and they're really special colors, and more blue. Where is the entrapment? I close my eyes and I see the word written in my inner sight, and it says fear. Fear is the entrapment, which has become grief. Then I hear we have forgotten that the connection we have with the earth and the star nation is our birthright. We forgot how to make that connection and started to become suspicious, assuming that all we can be is just one beating heart in alignment with the heartbeat of the mother. What is my contribution? I asked, and then it said, well, remember your message from today. And the message was that I'm traveling into a field, and this is what I'm doing daily. My environment is changing, and I'm traveling into a field where it said, you might open a new circle, and to restart the connection with this blue and green field where we travel to. So this comes together, which I received today and which I saw in my journey. And that's a supporting team where we come together to work with this inner connection, with the connection with the Mother Earth again, but also in this galactic world where we can connect, where we can learn to see what it is that, for instance, like narcissism does to us. And all these ones who are coming to me, who will come to me, have this narcissistic trauma, which I have in my lifetime, which I received in this lifetime and many others. So I can only work with this co-creative force and share with them how to overcome this fear, this big, big fear, which the narcissistic trauma has put into them. And that's it. Thank you. So we'll be on my website. Thank you.
I'm just so grateful. This is just really, really quite special. And I'm so grateful. You know, you experience something and you wonder, right? And but it's still there, and it's there. And for me, it's real. And then for each of you to have your own form of what this is, and sensing the entrapment just is a beautiful form of validation for me. So I'm so grateful. So I thought that I would travel through my own grief to get into the grid and dissolve it from within. And the team that I invited, I just assumed would be the team that I used to travel with, which was my dad, Wayne Dyer, Albert Einstein, and Walter Cronkite, and these 4 old white men. And so I kind of just assume it's them, and so I travel in my own grief, but to get there, I have to remember what I'm grieving over. So the death of my father, that, you know, I kind of did down my list, and I felt myself grieving. And then with intention, I tapped into the grid, and I realized I'm suffocating. Oh my gosh, I can't breathe. This is so dark, so dense, so thick, so kind of like the fog that Angelique is talking about, and kind of like the dark density, brittleness that you were talking about, Sue. I mean, so then I just went, oh my God, this is not where I want to be. So I literally backed out and came back into my body. And then I sat here, you know, kind of in alignment with where that grief was. And I started to visualize, you know, gratitude and grace and divine love. And I shifted my energy and cleared all of that out. When I came over here, I started to, these angels, these archangels showed up, and there was Gabriel in her gold, and there was Raphael in his green, Linda. So the gold and the green of Gabriel and Raphael, and the you know, and then who else was there? Michael, of course, in the blue, and they pulled me up through the grid so I could get back. And so now I'm swimming with all that is, with the divine energy of grace. And I can see the grid just so angry, so being filled. Now, I had been shown when I first showed the grid that the way to reach people that are, you know, you can travel through this grid, Cinda, and you could share the healing with everybody. It's how you can quickly reach someone across the globe is through this grid. But Sue, it didn't occur to me that also with everyone attached to this grid, the darkness has an immediate way to get deep into everyone's grief, to tap into the grid from. And I'm like, so Sue, when you said that, I went, oh my God, so it's not just the light that can enter it, the outsiders can actually influence, even though I believe it has been created by the people themselves. Anyway, so I'm out of it, I'm looking down, and I'm remembering Grace's words when that energy said to me, ask and you shall receive. And there was provided a legion of angels. And I said, okay. And with the help of the archangels, I talked to Grace's legions of angels, and I sent an angel to every intersection point on this grid. And they had these glowing golden clippers, and they were clip, 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 clip. But I realized that because they kept on one point for a really long time. And I realized that we have one point, but if we're attaching to, you know, many, we have many things coming off of our one point of intersection. So they were clipping all of that. But greed isn't something that we need to not feel. And I don't mean greed. Grief is something that we don't need to feel. It's not a bad emotion. And actually a healing needs to happen. So I was, as I'm observing these angels clip, 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 the grief line just shot up into the stratosphere for everyone. And then with that, they are reaching a higher frequency, and through that, their own individual line, they are no longer attached to anyone else's grief. They were no longer being infiltrated, or nor was the grief of everyone else being compounded into one person and theirs into others. It was a singular connection to source that then could be fed hope and possibility and peace of mind and all those beautiful words that we started with. And I realized the power in that, the power in like energy, attracting like energy, and compounding it, whether it's positive or negative. But if we can get rid of that attachment and just be connected to the source of all that is, that we are in perfect, beautiful alignment. Yeah, so that's where I went. Any other comments? You can, all of you can take yourselves off of mute if you want.
Can I share something? Last Friday, my youngest son, Milan, was with me. And that's the only one of all three where I'm still very much connected with, and it will not change. And suddenly, after when he left, I really got a realization. I thought, every time I meet him, every time when we are together, and we are together for a couple of minutes, and then I start crying, really crying. And I feel so sad, and there's so much grief. And now I said to him, I am really sorry that I always have to cry when we are together, but I can't stop it. It's like you open up a button and it starts streaming. And when he was away, I suddenly realized that it was his grief. It was not mine. And I shared this with him. And I said, I know that you are really entrapped in between these two parties of the family, which is my daughter, my son and family, and my ex-husband, and me and Robert. And he is in the center, in the middle, and he loves them all. So this is a really, really hard split for him. And when I see him, I see his beautiful spirit and his willingness to be together with all of us, and it's impossible. So I feel his pain, and that makes me cry. And I shared it with him, and I said, well, really, it's when I see you, I have to cry because I feel your hurt and your grief. And he said, well, thank you, Mom. I'm so happy that you shared this with me, because it is quite a journey what I'm on, and it's really difficult. And he never shared that with me ever before. So then something really happened in the energy. There was an enlightening and a sort of release of energy, and something, clicked off. So that this channel in between him and me is really clean. And there's nothing in between the two of us. So there is no need to explain anything anymore. That this is so obvious. So there is, just sharing this with him gave him the inner peace to not have to keep up anything, not have to rescue me, because I cry anyway. And he said, and we made the appointment that when he comes the next time I won't cry, or we cry together. And he said, yeah, well, that's fine. So thank you. Yeah, they remembered me that it's all about, what I love to share too, these colors from Linda and from Sue and, Gabriel and Michael. And to me also this beautiful bluish and green. It's such a healing force. And it's such a beautiful energy to connect with when we are entrapped, when we feel entrapped, and when we are in this field of, well, to me, it was like when I was having COVID also, that, you are pulled down, and there's those, those rubber things on your body which tear you down and which really tear you in this deep, deep, dark hole. But when I remember the colors, that they just disappear, they just go. And it's this coloring energy of the archangels, and it's of the healing light. And, well, for me, it's like that. So it was really surprising that you also talk about these colors. So I talk too much. I shut down.
Well, I
There's
think
so
you give a beautiful example of the power of awareness and the power in what it means to be seen. So your son being seen
yeah.
by your own, empathy and experiencing of grief and the awareness that it wasn't yours, but his. And then for him to be seen by you can help heal him. And then you no longer need to feel it because it served it. I mean, that's an extraordinary story. I'm so glad you shared it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Anyone else want to share anything or mention or talk? I'm just so grateful to all of you. I think that there's a lot of work we do when we're together.
I just want to say that it just feels like we are getting a greater clarity of how to be in our power. And there's so many systems that are going to fall apart. And we need to be in our power, because what we will be able to do is so much greater than what we are doing right now. And what we're doing right now, I think, is pretty amazing. But we're still learning. We're still learning. And it is. Every time we do this, there's always this kind of like an underlying theme that we all are picking up on, or a frequency we're all picking up on. And it's reflected in different ways. And the different ways just add to the richness of our experience. So I think it's awesome. Thank you for everybody showing up today.
Sue, I wanted to share a quick story. I was, last summer, my niece and her roommate came to visit me, and they're in college. And they had all these questions, all these spiritual 101 questions to ask me. And one of them was, how do you know you have a guardian angel? How do you know? Like, what is the sign, Aunt Cinda? So I told them what a sign was from spirit and how it shows itself. And I said, do you want to experiment with it today? And they're like, yeah. So I had them immediately think of something, as random as it might be. And then I had them bring the image of that item into their heart to wrap their own energy around it, and then sent it out to their guardian angel so they could go find it for them. And then we'd be on the lookout for it all day. All right, so we were headed to the beach. We get to the beach, and her roommate immediately sees her sign. I immediately see mine, and my niece can't find hers. And she is looking and looking and looking and looking and looking, and she's so stressed. And she wants to see it so bad. And I said exactly what came to you, Sue, doing your meditation. And I said, if you feel that you can manifest your sign better than your angelic team or better than Source, then go for it. Try to make it so and happen in front of your eyes. And what she was, the image she was given was an elephant. And so we're at the beach. So really a living elephant isn't going to happen. So it has to be probably something on a t-shirt or a towel, or I don't know. And so she's looking at every single person, and it was hysterical. And I said, you have to release it and let it go. You cannot make it materialize. You cannot. You have to allow them to bring it to you. But the second you think you can do it, they're going to back off and say, go for it. So that's everything you said was everything I had said to them. It was so funny and such a beautiful reminder. So she did forget it, released it. She and her roommate, maybe a couple hours later, walked to the candy store to get some ice cream. And there on the wall was a mural of an elephant. But anyway, I just wanted to share that because there is so much truth in that, right? We have to get out of our own way. We just have to direct and then back up, command and back up, and let the invisible, I mean, that's why they're there. That's why they're supposed to, why they're so willing to help. So anyway, Sharon, you have something you want to say.
So I just want to make sure that what we set in place, each one of us is so important and so valuable that we direct that, give to direction that keeps moving through the world as we go about our day.
Yeah, I like the idea of how Gaia said, keep tapping in and find out what we need. What does Gaia and Tesla need in order to make this work more? So if you need help with that, Sharon, I'm on board.
Oh, just wake up at 1:30.
Yeah, well, I always am, and I'm always working on something. Thank God for the laser focus. I love that circle. Linda, was there anything else you wanted to say? I don't want.
Just remind me, which archangel was gold?
Gabriel.
Okay, that's what I thought. And the other was Michael, correct?
The Raphael is green.
Green, okay, good.
And Gabriel is usually a copper gold, and then Archangel Michael is traditionally blue.
Good, okay, cool.
As per what's shown to me, it might be different, but Raphael is usually, he's the angel of healing. Gabriel is the angel of communication, and obviously Michael is protection. That's how they present themselves to me.
Thank you. It was an incredible confirmation because I entered a few months ago. I've forgotten when I started coming. I remember thinking, oh my God, these guys see so much more. And it's wonderful to have this confirmation. So I appreciate it.
Oh, Linda, whenever you have guided us in meditation, it has been glorious.
Oh.
So don't question your own gifts, please. I have bared witness to your gifts, and they have changed me.
Thank you. Thank you.
So anyone else want to say anything before we go?
Yes, I'd love to say thank you. It was really,
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you,
Cinda.
Cinda.
And everyone, of course. But yeah, you did really beautiful. Yeah.
I just think when I know that both Angelique and Sue had the same thing where it was a grid of fear, and which then led to grief. And I'm seeing it as grief, which is the cause of the fear. It doesn't matter. It's both the same, I think, is what we're being shown. But if we witness that fear or that grief in another, and it is not serving them or others around them, I think we need to respond energetically, immediately to support that person. Maybe we can use Sharon's protocol to put them in a guardian circle so their energy stops. And then we bring in the healing energy of not only just the PTO or the take and transform, but of the angelic colors that we saw during this meditation to help ease them and calm them and heal them and allow their grief to be dispersed instead of connected. And like when Angelique gave that example of feeding each other and compounding, we can just release it and let source heal it directly.
Can I say one thing? It was a week or two ago that Robert reminded me, and he said, well, you have been in this journey and there's so much narcissism around you. Why don't you go and work with people? And I said, oh no, it's not what I'm going to do. I've had enough narcissism in my life and I don't want it anymore. But then in my prayers and everything, every time again came this message, well, this is what you've got to do, girl. Really, this is really what you've got to do. And this is what the spirits put in front of you. There's nothing about what you want. This is what is necessary for humanity. And I mean, not humanity, but it can be one person and it can be 2 or 4 or maybe the neighbor or whatever. But if people get involved with narcissism, it's like, why shouldn't I share? I mean, not what I've been through, but what they might encounter, what they can do to step out of this fear and this, you get really, what you call that, when you can't move anymore. It's like you can't move anymore. I don't know the word in English, but it's like you're lame. You cannot move your arms, your legs, and it's this fear is so big that you are not being able to move anymore, to do anything. So your mind's stuck and your body is stuck. So yeah, it's quite a challenge. And today, really in circle with my grandmas, I got the message that this is really what is asked from you, to wait for the form to come to you, in which form it will be offered to work with it. So I surrendered.
Beautiful. Keep us posted as to who you're going to need. Sharon's been doing so much work with the narcissism too. There's a need for that to be healed.
It paralyzes.
That's the word. Thank you. Yeah, that's the word. Exactly.
Sharon, you've got just this flow of light coming into you. Before it was a straight sword, and now it is just right into your right side. It's gorgeous.
One thing, Sharon, really, Sharon, what I did yesterday, I found your house on Google Maps.
It's a great house, isn't it?
So I visited you in the garden. So beautiful. Thank you.
All right, you guys, I love every single one of you. I am so grateful to the validation and for the work you each have done today. I really feel like we are making the difference. I can feel it energetically. That lightning has happened.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cinda.
Thank you.